everybody. Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to TCR Trinity Competitive Racing.
Well, TCR TJ is the Season 13 Golden Class Champion for Trinity Competitive Racing.
Oh, let's go, dude! Yes!
Jabbar on the podium! He's on it by a 10! Gentlemen, side by side through one. And Silent, and Seafreeze gets a half spin. Let's fucking go! Wheel bumping.
DRS enable, let's do it.
And Captain Blade battling it out for position. Captain Blade.
Ickle, what the?
Then McChicken goes around and he also makes
Rewind down the front straight. Oh my god.
I gotta check the heart rate.
Why do we do this? Because of nights like this.
Yo, welcome everybody to TCR Trinity Competitive Racing, and welcome to the Racing Debrief, TCR's podcast, where we combine the world of e-racing, sim racing, and TCR with real-life motorsports and Formula One. A true racing enthusiast. Listen, I'm your host, Seafreeze, alongside my co-host and usual partner in crime, Camden Luca. Welcome back to the commentary booth. I guess we could use it for podcasting as well. But finally, we got another episode out for you guys. Welcome.
I almost forgot we had a podcast. I somehow wound up in a voice chat with you, and now we're talking about Formula One, talking about all sorts of stuff. So, yeah, it's been a hot minute, but here we are, Seafreeze. We're back.
Yeah, and I know we keep saying that, but and for those who are usually tuning in, they're probably coming from the league, and those who follow us for TCR. I wanted to give a little bit of a chance to explain a little bit of who we are. Just a quick brief moment for those who might not know who we are. And it's been a long time since we've done a podcast too, so it gives an opportunity for those who do follow us, a little bit more insight on us as well. So I'm the owner founder of TCR. Drove for many seasons in our league. We primarily race on the F1 games. At one point we had 3 classes, a bunch of drivers, different assist levels. Started back in 2016. I personally drove for I think I did like 13 full-time seasons. We're on season 18 now, and 3-time platinum champion, or I guess there's some
F1 series champion now.
Yeah, now. But I also do commentary. Haven't this season, but I usually was doing commentary a lot. Podcasting and commentary seems to be more of what I'm interested in, as I kind of put the wheel aside. Although I'd like to get back into it. It's just, finding the time to practice and get back into league racing on a game that seems, a lot of drivers having lack of motivation because the game of the state isn't that great. But I would like to get back into it at some point. But a little bit of insight there. Do a lot for the league, a lot for the F1 community. Been pretty inactive as of late. But hopefully I'm going to use this podcast to give my insight, my experience, and all aspects of it. I mean, I'm a huge motorsport fan on not only Formula One, NASCAR, IndyCar, endurance, dirt, modifieds, short track. I mean, really anything. Do I have time to watch everything? I try to watch as much as I can. I try to be active in league racing. I try to watch what we're doing in TCR, but also the other esports divisions, and have some experience driving and owning a league and all the aspects of how a league should function. So I feel like I have a lot of insight to give to those listening whether that be in sim racing, esports, competition, just my thoughts in general motorsports, or even if someone is looking to get into the podcasting commentary or league owning experience, there's some insight there as well. So there's a bunch of angles we can attack this on, and that's why the name of the podcast, The Racing Debrief, the way you pronounce it, it's racing debrief, but also e-racing, right? The way you pronounce it, it's all encompassing everything together on both sides of it. So that's why I'd really like to give this podcast a second go and to bring it back full swing. I have a lot of ideas, and hopefully we can make it a more of an occurrence. We're gonna be back on YouTube as always. We're finally gonna be on Spotify, and we're gonna be on Apple Podcasts as well. So those are the three that we'll be running on. I hope everyone can share it out to as many people as possible. We'll try to put a lot of the podcasts up on the socials as well to grab more attention, and we'll see where this goes. But I feel like it was pretty attractive at the time when we first brought it in for much of the league, of everyone in the league of TCR. But now we have a chance to break out and branch out in many different ways. So yes, we're going to talk about TCR, a lot of it today, the state of the league, how our season's going. We have some fun games at the end that we're going to sprinkle in at the end. But we want this to be kind of open to what you guys want us to talk about. And hopefully we can branch out and grow this and grow the YouTube into something that makes sense. So we can kind of go a lot of different directions. But how about you, Camden?
How about me?
How about you?
Just for those who don't know, I'm Camden Luca. I'm an official in TCR. Been around for a while. Help out with a lot of stuff, with commentary, with I race, used to coordinate. I do creative stuff, kind of a one-trick pony, if you will. When it comes to my racing background, I come more from a NASCAR background. That's really what I grew up on, and I got into F1, I would say like 5 years ago. That's when I really started to get into it. And now F1 is kind of like on the same pedestal as NASCAR is for me. They're kind of like neck and neck sort of. So, kind of the same thing, to where, I've got this interest in racing, and that's how I wound up here. That's why I'm talking on the podcast.
Yeah. And we've been doing it a long time. This is, I think, episode 41. So, for those who this might be their first one, we have a bunch of other podcasts, a bunch of other things that we've done with a lot of different guests from the league as well. So we'd like to have some guests on as well, like we've done in the past. But even for members or drivers or people outside the league, we could really welcome anybody on and kind of talk anything racing related. So I'm excited we're back, and see how it goes. And I think we'd start off with just addressing kind of the league for TCR, because there's been a lot of changes and the game has gone through a lot of changes, and I just wanted to share my opinion on it. I think it's kind of sad the way the state of the game is right now. We have the lowest amount of drivers on the game, I'm pretty sure, since, I don't know statistically, but back down to like 2016. I mean, it really has gone the opposite way. The heights of where it was in 2020, through the pandemic, I mean, the game was going really through the roof. Sim racing was going through the roof. People were buying sims, people were playing F1 because everyone was stuck inside. And everyone, that maybe it's been because of EA, grabbing the game now from Codemasters the last few years, which probably has the most to do with it. But also you combine that with the fact that we're not in a pandemic anymore and everyone's going back to either work or school or going to do other things, moving to other games or sims that might be more rewarding and challenging for them, whereas the F1 game has kind of just stayed stagnant. And I don't know. It's been a lot, lot goes into it, a lot contributes. You could also put it on the fact that besides this season, it's been pretty lackluster. 22, 23. As far as the F1 season goes, Max Verstappen was just dominant in those two years. This season is completely different. It's actually a really nice season with a lot of different winners. Yeah, we just a few seasons ago we had 3 classes, and then we downsized to 2. We had originally silver, golden, and platinum class. Then we downsized to Challenger Series and the Elite Series, and now just one season later we're down to one F1 Series, allowing medium traction, allowing ABS, manual gears racing only, and it's in a way sad, but also I think it brings me back to like when we first started the league, to where we only had one class way back when, and thinking of it now, it's like, alright, it kind of feels like the old days of TCR, where you have maybe a tighter knit group and you just look forward to racing every week. And I think if everyone starts to use the voice channels in the Discord more, and they start getting in voice channels and practicing and racing together, I think it could even be funner than when we had 3 classes. So definitely a big swing, but it's just kind of the direction the game is going, I think.
Yeah, I totally agree, but I definitely want to give my 2 cents on this, because I have a lot to say about this topic. I do want to go back before COVID, because things were in a good spot when it came to TCR. Even when it came to F1, because you talk about Max Verstappen dominating the last 2 years. Well, Lewis Hamilton won 4 championships in a row before COVID. That's really true, yeah. I know he won 2020, but that was kind of like the start of COVID. And things were good before COVID, but the thing with COVID that sucks is, we got a lot of drivers. There was a lot of attention on league racing in general because everyone was stuck at home. However, I think the consequences of that are we're now in a post-COVID hangover, to where people are still really craving to get out of the house, and I think this is going to go on for at least the next couple of years, because we're all kind of restricted for a while. We were wearing masks for multiple years, and we had all these social restrictions in place. So I think that's going to continue for a while, but it's crazy just to see like the downfall. It seems like, I'm not trying to be negative, but it just seems like everything's kind of happened at once between the post-COVID hangover, like I said, but it couldn't have been a worse time for EA to come on board and screw everything up. I'm just going to say it. Like, that was literally right when COVID started to go away, was in 2022. And that's when they took over and started making games that weren't as good as the previous games. Yep. So you have these, all these bad timing things. What I will say, though, is I think if we want to be positive and look at, like, things that I think we've done great so far, I love the mystery race that we just did this past week.
Yeah,
because it really allows people to just get on and race. Because like you said earlier, you're not in a spot to where you can practice as much, or you're willing to put in as much time as you used to practice. And I feel like a lot of people are in similar scenarios, because now that we're out of COVID and people are, either working more or they've got more commitments, they can't practice as much. And I think doing more stuff like the mystery race is great, because I mean, not only that, but it gives everybody a chance, you know, because you have people like, I'll just be honest, like you have quite a pace gap, I feel like. And that's always been a thing just in league racing. But I feel like with our grid right now, you know, you got guys like B-Tom that are always up front, and then you have kind of a different group of people. With these mystery races, fixed setup races, it gets people kind of motivated to be like, all right, you know, like this is my chance to shine, if you will. So, like, I think we're just in a transition period. You know, the attendance is bad now, like the numbers aren't great now, but give it some time. If the games improve, like I think we'll be back.
Yeah, I think it's all dependent on the game, and because people still like to league race, people will always still want to be on the game and race because it's F1. And to be honest, you get a lot of good things with the F1 game. I mean, you get the updated tracks, updated cars. We just want it to be rewarding and challenging, and the racing. If the product is good, I think, you know, that's great. I mean, visually it looks great. There's a lot of features on the game already. I think it's just more down to the fact of, is it enjoyable to drive, and it's the driving aspect of it. I mean, that's where you're going to spend most of your time, is on the track. So if the racing product sucks, then, you know, no one's really going to want to play and put time into it if they're going to get frustrated with it. And I think we've had previous games where it was fun to drive, it was rewarding, but the racing was good. And now it just seems to be like, yeah, it's more down to the fact of slipstream, DRS, that sort of racing. And I haven't got the new game. And this is the first F1 game I've never got. I mean, since I started back in 2015 was my first game. And since then, I got every single game either the 3-day early pass or on the release day, or at least within the release week. And this is the first game that I've waited and still haven't felt like I needed to get, because there's no reason for me to get it. If I'm not going to do competitive league racing, I'm not going to do commentary at the moment, for me there's no reason to get it. And I'm not really missing it either. I don't know, it's weird.
Yeah. Well, what I will say is, I think if there's one thing that we have going for us, and we've really always had going for us, we've got a great community. Yeah. If you just take out the racing aspect, I mean, like, everybody in the Discord, like, there's so many people that talk about whatever. You know, I mean, we literally just made a politics chat a few weeks ago in the TCR just to add just another thing for people to talk about and just, you know, keep the Discord engaged. And I think that's really good for, you know, the attendance, because it's going to motivate people to show up in some capacity, whether it's full-time, whether they don't, you know, like the game necessarily. If they're engaged in the Discord, if we keep this as much of a community as it should be, then people are going to show up. Maybe not as much as they used to, but I also want to just, like, I want to do like a small rant.
Go ahead, rant, Camden. Go ahead.
All right, it'll be fun. So I get it. Like, the game sucks. Okay, like, I'll just put it out there. The game sucks. We all know it sucks, right? The thing with race car drivers that separates them from other athletes, we bitch more than any type of athlete. That's just a fact. Like, what race car drivers have to do is they have to bitch about the car to make it better, right? They have to go to their engineers, be like, oh, like, this isn't working, this sucks. Like, that's basically, like, maybe not to that, like, you know, that's a broad terminology, but you get what I'm saying. Like, race car drivers a lot of the time are just very unhappy. And I kind of had an experience like that a few weeks ago. So I joined a go-kart league.
Oh yeah.
And the thing with the league is that there's a 220-pound minimum for the go-karts. So say you weigh under 220, you have to put in weights into the cart to even out. I'm a lightweight guy, so of course, like, I have to go put a lot of weight in. And that was the first time I ever drove anything like a go-kart with that much weight in it. And the first race, it kind of sucked because I had to drive completely different than how I used to drive. Like, it was just so much more difficult in the corners, and I was just like, it was frustrating. Like, like that's normal. Be frustrated when things aren't going your way, right? And when I first got the new F1 game, I kind of said the same thing. I'm like, I don't understand these cars. This doesn't make any sense. But if you just almost adjust your mentality to be like, all right, these cars are different from the previous cars. They might not be great. I mean, we're not going to ignore that. But if you just try to drive the car for what it is, mentally, you'll learn to like it more. Because honestly, like, do I still prefer the old F1 games? Yeah. But driving on this F1 game, like, it's grown on me. Just because I've had that mentality of like, you know what, like, this is what I'm dealt with. This is the handling, and I have to get good at it. And I feel like, honestly, like, in the last couple of weeks with Monaco and with Abu Dhabi, the mystery race, like, I feel like I'm starting to get the hang of it.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, like, no matter what you're driving, like, you still have to race. You still have to be in that zone. You still have to, like, be on the limit. That's what it's about. So I think it's a lot, mentality based. But like I said, I get it. The game's not great. It sucks. But if you just, if you change your mindset a little bit and just say, all right, I'm going to learn how to drive the car for what it is, then, I don't know, I think there would be a lot less bitching in the Discord.
Yeah, you know what? I think what it is like, personally, like, I've kind of stopped racing to be competitive, right? I think that, like,
Yeah.
my days of that is kind of limited, because if I'm going to if I'm going to race in the season, I'm going to be competitive and I want to win a championship. If that's my goal, I'm putting practice in. I'm going to be prepared. I'm going to come up with the mindset of I'm winning. I haven't felt that probably since season 10. That I haven't really raced to be competitive. I just raced to kind of have fun and have that good little, when you get that itch of racing and want to try and be competitive and you want to get podiums and wins, but you're halfway in the door, halfway out the door. That's how I felt the last few seasons when I raced. And because I'm not racing for that competitive nature, that's out of it, right? So take away that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If the only other reason you would play or race, because we don't play, we race. I misspoke.
That's right.
I misspoke.
It's not a game.
It's not a game. I misspoke. I apologize. Because I know I give shit to everyone who says we play. Let's play. We don't play. We're racing.
I hate when people say game, like,
And we're not. Let's not go in the game. And we're not driving either. If I want to drive, I'd go out on the street. We're not driving. We're racing.
Yeah. Real quick. There was an old NASCAR commercial, and at the end, the slogan was NASCAR. Anything else is just a game.
Right.
I love that.
Yeah, there is no other league. That's my slogan. There is no other league. People be saying,
this is the league you race.
There is no other league. There's one league.
This is it.
Ugh, my gosh.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that other aspect of, if you're not racing to be competitive and to win, then you're racing to have fun. And if it's not fun, then why am I racing? If I don't want to be fully committed and be competitive and win a championship and win races, then you're really just racing to have fun. And if the game is not fun and it's not enjoyable, then it's like, well, I don't want to just ride around in the back or in the middle of the pack if it's not fun. And I don't want to put more, if I don't have that motivation, I'm not going to really want to put practice in to be competitive to win. So it's like, well, you can't do it anymore. But I will say, back to your other point of like, oh, I know the game sucks, but you still gotta change. You gotta change your mindset. You still gotta race. And I agree with that. You gotta adapt, and that's what I feel like. I can relate to a lot because like when I first started racing back on 2015, started league racing on 2016, 17, 18, some of those games changed. I mean, the cars changed a lot through those seasons, and you have to then adapt. And you might not like how the car is. Like personally, I loved how 2019 was. I loved driving on 2019. We went to 2020. Whoa, I was not a fan of it. But I had to adapt. I still was able to win races, compete, but it's like I didn't really like it as much as the previous game, but I have to adapt. But when 19 was like my best game ever, 2016 was good too. I had a few games where it's like 18 wasn't really that good. So like it's like game to game, car to car, season to season, if you're still there to be competitive, then you're going to drive it no matter what. You're going to drive it on any track, against anybody, at any time, any place. You're just going to do it because that's how you are when you're competitive. So, yeah, it's got issues, but you're right. If they produce better games, it'll be back to it. We're not the only league going through series closing down and other leagues shutting down. I think we'll be sustainable under one series. And you know, it's just sad because the community has shrunk a lot, and at one point it was thriving and great, and I think if we just keep doing what we're doing, and you know, I think we'll be really good. So yeah.
And really, I mean, we have the one F1 series right now, and that's the only thing we have going right now. We went from 3 tiers down to 1, and we don't even have the iRacing tier up right now. Like that's kind of just an idea that we want to do, but it just isn't realistic right now. But you know, like there's positives and negatives with this. You know, obviously the negatives, like I said, you know, you're downsizing, but the positives is that we can really narrow in on this one series and make it great. We have KD commentating, and I think he's a great commentator.
Yeah.
So he gets to be like the commentator for TCR, right? We have, you know, like with you, you know, like I know you've got like a different schedule and stuff going on, and obviously you step down from like the lead role, right? But there's less, I don't want to say it like this, but there's less responsibilities basically. Like it's less stuff for people to worry about, which now isn't the worst thing because like I said, we're in this post-COVID hangover to where people are really craving to do other things right now. So yeah, we'll be all right.
Yeah, and I want to go back to, you know, you mentioned the iRacing and those as ideas, and I think that's kind of the direction I want to go in, because like having, you know, 3 F1 series, I mean, it was a lot to manage, but it was actually not too bad when the game was thriving. When it started going downhill, then it got more and more difficult, and, you know, we had to do something about it. I still would like to, I think because we got downsized to one series, I think now we should take that extra time. Yeah, focus in on what we have, for sure. But I also, well, hey, we went from 3 days down to 1. Let's use those 2 other days for maybe something else we can grow, right? So these are some ideas that I'm thinking about. And I know a lot of people have mentioned going to Assetto Corsa or I think even Gran Turismo, or doing other endurance type races. Personally, I don't see that as the direction. I think there's other more popular series that we could do on a regular basis, like NASCAR or IndyCar. And I think those endurance style races should be maybe one-off events if we're going to host them. If we're not going to host them, I'd love to have a team, a TCR team or something where we can race in other people's leagues and just have us as drivers, you know, if that makes sense. So there's a couple directions you can go. I know in the past IndyCar was going to make a game. I think that got canceled. So
I was bummed about that. I was really looking forward to that game.
But yeah, I mean that was an opportunity. Now we are able to do it on iRacing, and we did a few races, and we can continue to maybe go that direction. You also have NASCAR, where NASCAR is great on iRacing, but is also a lot of opportunity on the next NASCAR game, which will be run by iRacing itself. So if that game has a lot of promise, I mean, that's a great opportunity to put a NASCAR series on. If it's not on the NASCAR game, then you have iRacing. You have IndyCar, which I think is still a big pull for those who are interested in that on iRacing. And if we do any endurance style racing, like I said, I think it'd be cool to have a TCR team where we can race in different events, or we could race in other leagues, because I know how much it takes to run some series. There's just other leagues, people who are really motivated about that. I'm not as motivated as in endurance than I am Formula One, NASCAR, IndyCar, and I think those have bigger pulls, in my opinion. But I mean, we're really open to anything. I mean, but this now allows us to branch out, and I think iRacing is probably the best route. And we're also, personally, I'm looking at that NASCAR game as well to see, well, if iRacing doesn't work out with NASCAR, well, the game might be a better entry level to get us into the door for that. I think it could be really cool. I mean, imagine us having NASCAR, Formula One, and IndyCar. I mean, three of probably the biggest series, or most popular. If we were able to have a series for each, I mean, you imagine how much fun you could have. Like, you can and if you have access to all three of them too, it's like, well, what do you want to race?
Exactly.
So
yeah.
like, especially if you're a reserve driver, you're having a lot of fun, because one day you could be NASCAR, next day Formula One, IndyCar. I mean, there's so many different tracks and driver combinations, and there's a lot there. And I think
we do have a good
cool.
We have a good American following. We have a lot of people from the United States, Canada, and obviously NASCAR, IndyCar. Like, that's where they race. So which
makes it more of a reason to branch to NASCAR and IndyCar, because we are North America. I mean, that's most of our drivers are, so we're going to cater to that.
Yeah, and it would be good too if we could do that, because that means we just have one of each. We're not going back to doing like multiple F1 tiers, which, I mean, like, if there's room for that, if that's a possibility in the future, sure. But I like the idea of having just one of every series.
Of each,
it makes it more exclusive, It's like, oh, this is the one F1 tier we have. This is the one IndyCar tier we have.
Yeah, and maybe it'll be harder to get into, or maybe not. You mentioned the difference in pace from P1 to P20, or in the F1 series right now, and I think it's that was kind of what we have to work on. I mean, back when we first started the league, season 1, 2, 3, I mean, every season it got better. Every season we added another, I call him a heavy hitter. That's someone at the front of the grid competing for podiums and wins. And we just have to keep adding one person, 1, 2 people, and that grid right now is going to be an evolution down the road. So seasons come and go, rosters come and go, drivers come and go, but the good thing is it's always going to be improving. It's always changing, and with 20 seats we have for F1, that's what we got. If you want to race, you got to race on this grid. You got to beat the best, and I kind of like that. Even if we allow some of different assists, that's not ideal. But I think given what it is now, we allow as many people in, and see if you can beat them. I think that I like it.
It really, I mean, it could be a season by season basis too, to where it's, say like 2 seasons down the line, if the majority of the people that sign up don't use many assists or any assists at all, then we could go that route.
Right.
If it's like this season, to where most people use some sort of assist outside of racing line, then like we should probably like at least have ABS on, at a minimum.
No, I agree with that. Yeah. Also, yeah, I think because of all of that, I think I'll just mention briefly, I guess, the state. That's kind of the state of the game, state of the league, and how we've gotten to that point. There's also been a lot of changes with leadership and roles within TCR, and I think I'll just kind of brief on that a little bit for those listening. Maybe a week or two ago, I put out an announcement that said that I was stepping down from the leadership role, which I guess we never really had one, because ever since the league was created, I was the owner, but I was also like the CEO, the guy in charge for all those seasons. And I think the last few seasons I've been looking for someone to be the guy, but I think because we still had 3 classes, then we had 2, it was going to be hard for somebody to step in. When you have 3 classes to deal with, there's a lot of moving parts with dealing with 60 drivers as opposed to now 20. I was always looking for somebody to kind of be in that leadership role, someone who has a little bit more motivation, a little bit someone who's more active in the game. Obviously, I'm not active anymore as much as I want to be. I just am not. So I think it's important to have somebody in that role that can lead the group forward, who's playing the game, who is active and knows what's best for the league. So that's when I decided that I should kind of step aside and focus on some other things like the podcast and kind of see what other areas we can go down. So because of that announcement, we've kind of readjusted our league, the different roles that we have and the model of how our league functions. In our Discord, there's 2 tabs that kind of go over the hierarchy, I guess you can say, of the league, which shows the different roles, and then there's another tab which is kind of the description of those roles. And I think we have a great group of mods and officials and people who are on board with TCR, and we're always looking to add to it. So the plan forward is, I'm going to be more, I'm still the owner, I'll still be active in different areas, but I'm not going to be the quote-unquote CEO, the leader of the group. So the ownership hasn't changed, but the leadership has changed. So the leadership, we're looking to, we haven't done an actual an announcement, so maybe we should announce on here. Or should we not, Camden?
I think we should.
Let's do it. All right.
Let's go for it.
I guess this is why, we put news on the podcast so people listen, right?
Right.
But we're going to be announcing the CEO. The new leader of the group is Silent, who was just joined as an official about a season or so ago. He was going to be head steward with Tico, longtime head steward of TCR, Tico. And when we had 3 series, it was kind of hard for Tico at the time to run as the head steward because of work and I guess other things. He was kind of wanting to step back as well because, being the head steward for 3 classes is a lot. That's why Silent was kind of joined with Tico for a little bit, and they were going to kind of share the role. Now that we have 1 series, we don't need 2 head stewards. Tico's the head steward now. Silent is no longer a head steward, although he's going to be the CEO. So he's going to be... That role is a lot of coordination. It's a lot of communication. And it's a lot of staying on top of things and bringing up new ideas. So... he's going to have a big important role, and he can really focus his energy really wherever he wants to, because he doesn't have one direct department now that he's not just a head steward. He's not just in the stewarding department. he could really do whatever he wants. And that's kind of what I was in my role when I was in the CEO role, is part of my job was communicating with the drivers, but also every department, and seeing what was priority. So it's a lot of prioritization. What's priority? What's the next project? What's the next thing for the league? And that's a lot of what I was doing. But also, it's the everyday, day-to-day operations that Silent will be working on, and he's very active in the Discord. He's very active within the community of TCR, and I think that's going to be good. Making sure on the day of, we have the host picked out, the commentator, the settings are right, the new drivers have everybody added, the recruitment process. There's a lot of coordination there, communication, going from one season to the next, or maybe one race format to the next. Last week we had the mystery race. You have to put an announcement out on what is this week's format. So there's a lot more day-to-day stuff, and for me, I feel like I'm more useful elsewhere. I feel like other people can easily, I wouldn't say easily, but I could say other qualified people are able to succeed in those areas of the day-to-day operations, and I can focus my energy on other things to advance the league, hopefully. But all the day-to-day operations was just taking away from all my time messaging the drivers, getting the rosters ready season to season, making sure, and a lot of it was, pretty much you took the load of a lot of it, but now it's nice we have Silent, who's going to be, we're still figuring out the whole thing of it since it's new, and we're going to transition it, the best we can. But he's going to be more of the leader of the group. So, obviously as officials, all officials are head of a department. So they're in charge of that department per se. And, Silent will kind of be going to each department and making sure everything's in order. But as far as the way the decisions are made in the league, it's all of the officials. So even when I was the owner and CEO, I can't just say, boom, this is what we're doing. I mean, we always bring it to the official group for big league decisions. We're all on the board of, that's what it's called, the board of directors. If you're an official, you have say in the league. And we don't really vote, but we come to a decision, all of us, into what's best. And I think that's a good way of doing that. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to see what Silent is able to do in this role. It's the first time that we've really done this before. It's always really been me, and I'm hoping others can kind of take this into something to really big heights, because I'm gonna try and have a hands-off approach where it's like, I'm pretty sure the other day you just promoted Camden, you just promoted Remsley to the coordinator role, and I didn't even know about it. And I thought, I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. I'm like the owner of the league, and I'm finding out news on a promotion the same time as any other driver. I was like, whoa, that's pretty cool. And you have full right to do that, because you're an official, and if you feel like you want to promote somebody, and we talked about it before, but I didn't know you were actually going to do it that day. But a little shout out to Rems as well for being coordinator of the F1 series, and he's been doing a great job, all aboard there. So lots of changes. We're still figuring everything out. But if you're looking to join the team, just look through the Discord, and suggestions are always open. Bring those into the suggestions ticket, and then we'll look at it, and hopefully this will be this will allow us to succeed into this next, I guess, era of F1 and TCR. So all in all, I'm happy, and it allows me a lot more free time to work on some other things and things I don't really have to worry about day to day. That's more with kind of off my hands, so to speak, and I could worry on more important things, and hopefully get back to racing as well. So we'll see.
Yeah. Well, I mean, first of all, I think Silent's a great choice to be the CEO, because I mean, he's one of the most involved people. I think just when you like see him in the Discord and just like with everything he helps out with, yeah, like I think that's the right choice. And yeah, I think I vouched for that. Actually, I think we talked about that beforehand, and I'm like, yeah, like that's a great fit. I do want to talk about Remsley too, because he literally just became the coordinator this past week for the F1 series, and that was something that we were kind of uncertain about going into the season, because at first we were anticipating having 2 tiers, right? So I was going to do Challenger, and someone else was going to do Elite, and it was kind of like right before we downsized to 1 tier, to where Remsley would eventually become the Elite Series coordinator. Like, I would do the first couple of weeks, get him kind of settled in, and then he would take over. But then, of course, we ended up having to cut the Challenger Series out. So now, I'm almost left out of a role. I mean, technically, but no, like I wasn't against that, because if we have people that are willing to step up and, be in roles like that, then have at it, like we're all a team, right?
Yeah.
And I think Remsley will do great. He's been super supportive of the league ever since he came in. Like, he's been just super helpful. Like, always, like, just willing to help out wherever. Like whenever there's some sort of question that gets asked in either the moderator chat or whatever, of like, can someone do this? Like, more times than not, he'll be the guy. Yeah, like I'm really looking forward to just like the leadership moving forward, because I do think we have people that are, they want to see TCR get back up to where it was, and I think it's going to happen if we have these people.
It could. I mean, it really could, as long as everybody like just does stuff, right? I mean,
yeah,
we can't
pitch in.
We can't advance if we don't do anything, right? So, I mean,
yeah.
If there's an idea and we don't do it, or people are just afraid to do anything, it's better to do and just do it. Like,
yeah, everybody
could always just change it.
Says they want to do things, but not everybody actually does things.
Yeah, because I mean, if everyone did their part and we fast tracked it, I mean, we have a lot of new ideas, a lot of things that could get implemented, but if you got to think of it like in a week scenario. You race. Let's say Rems. He coordinates, but he races too, so he has to find practice time, race time, coordinating time. Now, within that week, you got to slot in a few little time slots that you can get stuff done. Because if you don't do anything in a full week of moderating official, it's like, you got to do something, almost like a regular job, that you work Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. As a moderator official, you're pretty much your own boss, so to speak, I feel like. And you put in whatever you feel like putting in. And that's kind of up to them, right? In a sense. So, but no, I'm really confident, and I just want to appreciate everybody and say thanks, because I got a nice warm welcome by a lot of the league, and it means a lot, me starting this way back when. I always wanted to succeed, and I never wanted to really end. It's kind of crazy it's still going on, but like I said, if we're able to have these plans come to fruition and get back on track, it's going to be a lot of fun if we could do all these different series and all these different ideas that we have. The games might not be great, but at least we can still have fun with it. So, we'll see how it goes. We're looking for people, and the big thing, if we have people on iRacing, if you want to be the coordinator or the guy in charge for either a NASCAR or IndyCar or even an endurance series, let me know. I will literally give you access to be the guy in that series, and you have full say on how you want that league to be created. Because we just need people who have that motivation to start a series and who also knows at least a little bit to where they're on iRacing and they know what the settings are and they know the geography of how to set a league up. So there's a lot there as well, but yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. So what are we thinking, Kim? You want to go a little? We'll have a little fun now.
Let's have a little fun.
All right. So we came up with this. Coming up I think every episode, we're gonna have a little game segment, and we're gonna have a little fun. And there's a bunch of different ideas we have, and this is just the start. We have a couple rounds here, and hopefully we can do this every episode that we do it. So what we came up with is we're gonna do some of these blindly ranking categories. So we just have 2 different categories. We're gonna rank F1 drivers and F1 tracks. Camden and I, we both have our own lists. So we have Camden's got 2 and I got 2. So we're going to ask each other. So all together we'll have 4. So how this will work is, before the podcast went on, we each came up with 5 different F1 drivers and 5 different F1 tracks. Now we both had to put our lists in the order that we would think they would be ranked in, like the most ideal order, 1 through 5. And then we also had to come up with, in what order are we going to say these tracks and drivers to the other person so that they could blindly rank them. This way it's fair. We don't just come up with how we're going to say it as you're saying it. This is the order of which I will tell you, and then see if you can get your best ranking, 1 through 5. So I think if you guys have been on social media, you've seen some of these like this. So yeah, I think we should have a lot of fun. Do you want to go first, or I should go first, or what do you want?
I do have my lists, and I'm very curious as to what's going to happen. I feel like I'm going to put you in an uncomfortable spot, and you're going to be like, "Oh, why did I do that?"
Okay.
So let's begin with 5 drivers, blindly ranking them. You have no idea which one comes next after the previous one.
Right.
So let's go. So 5 drivers, okay?
Okay.
First one that's up, Nico Rosberg.
Ooh, Nico Rosberg. Champion 2016, had a lot of wins that season. He retired that year. Drivers, I would say, I mean, he's solid. I don't know what you're going to give me. I'm going to put him number 2.
Wow. Number 2, okay.
I'm going to put him number 2.
I was
think,
not expecting that.
I don't know what you're going to give me.
Well, let's move on to the next driver. Mika Hakkinen. Hakkinen? Whatever. Tomato. Mika Hakkinen.
I don't know much about him. I don't think he's a champion, right? I don't know how many wins.
Two-time champion.
Two-time. I don't know how many wins he's got though. But I'm gonna put him. He's a slightly older driver. Let's put now I'm nervous because of what you're saying. I'll put him number 4.
Wow. Whew.
Because I think I messed my list up here.
This is gonna get fun. Yeah, this is gonna get very controversial. Next driver up, Michael Schumacher.
Well, we got to put him number 1. I mean, that's
You
the
got to.
only...
If you put Rosberg 2, you got to put Schumacher 1. If
You have
if
to.
not, then you've just opened a whole can of worms, Mr. Seafreeze.
Yeah, you got to put him number 1. No decision right there. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, now this is where this will get interesting. Max Verstappen.
Max Verstappen. Well, I think I know who you're gonna give me last, unless you screw me over. I'm gonna put him. I'm putting him. I'm gonna put him 5.
Oof. You know, that probably actually was the right decision, because the next person I'm about to say, if you put Verstappen at 3 instead of 5, this probably wouldn't go over well. The 5th and final driver
Lewis
on
Hamilton.
a blind ranking is Ayrton Senna.
Oh, okay. I'm happy with that, actually. That's actually not that bad of a list.
Well, no, shut up. No, you put Nico Rosberg ahead of Ayrton Senna. This list is officially invalid.
Okay, maybe that. But I'm saying Schumacher 1, that's like right. Senna should be 2.
That's correct.
Senna should be 2, Max should be 3. Hakkinen, then Rosberg, maybe.
That's exactly what I had.
Yeah. Okay. So I was a little off. All right. First one.
Yeah.
I got it. At least I got the number 1 right. Okay.
So yeah. Okay. So yeah. Let's recap. So my list was Schumacher, and this is in order: Schumacher, Senna, Verstappen, Hakkinen, Rosberg.
Yeah. Okay.
Your list, blindly ranking them, ended up being Schumacher, Rosberg, Senna, Hakkinen, and Verstappen. Man, you took a swing at putting Rosberg at 2.
Yeah, I did.
No, I like it. Like, you know, because you don't know who
I respect him, though. I think he's a great driver. But
I do. I think he's underrated. I don't think he gets enough credit.
If he continued to race, I mean, who's to say he would have gotten more wins? I mean, I don't know many championships, but I mean, he could have just added to it. But you never know.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's just when you put him against everyone else I just listed, you know, he's the what's the term? The weak inkling, the
weak link,
whatever,
the weakest link.
The weak link. That's right.
All right, here's my list. F1 drivers to you. So blindly rank these Formula 1 drivers.
Okay, let's go.
Let's go with Robert Kubica.
Well, he didn't statistically do much, but he definitely was like one of the biggest what ifs, if not the biggest what if in Formula 1 history. But because of the stats, because of the lack of resume, I'm going to go 5.
So you put him 5.
Safe option, I think.
Okay. Next we have Roman Grosjean.
Well, okay, so you're doing the opposite of me. You're going like kind of on the lower end of the spectrum. Man, well, see, now I don't know, because now I don't know if you're gonna give me like Nikita Mazepin like as your last driver. I'll go 4.
Next driver.
Oh boy.
Logan Sargent,
Jesus
who
Christ,
just got dropped from F1.
Okay, so I'm noticing a pattern. You're going, well, see, okay, so here's what I've noticed so far. You're kind of getting worse with your drivers, because if this is based off of my list, I would do the complete opposite of what I have to do now, because I put, you know, the first 2 guys at the bottom. The thing is, though, I don't know if you're going to switch up on me and all of a sudden give me like a Lewis Hamilton or somebody like that. Because wouldn't it look goofy if I put Sargent at 2 and, you know, Hamilton's the last guy and I have to put him at 3? But I'll play along with your game, C-Freeze. I'll put Logan Sargent at 3. It's going to come back to bite me in the ass, but we'll go with it.
Next up, Nico Hülkenberg.
Crap. You son of a bitch. But you know what? No, I will say no. Hülkenberg's probably... I wouldn't say he's better than Robert, but I mean, he's better than the other guys you've listed, I think, personally. You know what? I know you're gonna give me someone diabolical last. Well, no, because you could go either way. So, you know what? I'll do it. Number one.
Number one for Hulkenberg.
Number one, Nico Hulkenberg. Never finished on the podium. Number one.
And that's good because your last driver was Nikita Mazepin.
There we go. I knew it. I was scared you were going to do that. I thought you were either going to do Nikita Mazepin or you're going to go like Hamilton or Vettel or...
Now, this is interesting because, alright, so you picked Hulkenberg, Mazepin, Sargent, Grosjean, Kubica. I had, and this is my order, I had, no, it could actually be different, I guess, if you looked at it. Which I guess you don't actually, I guess it's up for grabs of what would be the number one. I actually had Grosjean 1, Kubica, Hulkenberg, Sargent, Mazepin. Just because Grosjean, he was able to get on the podium, Hulkenberg never did.
Yeah.
But Kubica, he also was on the podium.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if he ever won, though. Did he win?
I think he won one race at Canada.
Okay, so that could be, I guess, up for grabs. I mean, Grosjean had a longer stint. I mean, I don't know, but that's what I had.
Yeah.
I guess you guys can let me know what you think.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that list, there's... You were reaching more at the bottom of the barrel. I kind of did the opposite. I was kind of reaching more towards the top. So,
yep.
Interesting.
Nice, that was fun. All right, F1 tracks now.
Yeah. This is going to get a little more... I think there's room for controversy here because this could be very much based on opinion because, there's not as much statistical stuff to lean on with this. But I'll start. I'll give my 5 tracks and you will blindly rank them. So let's start off with Canada.
Good track. I like it. I like a lot of chicanes, a good little street circuit, so to speak. I'm going to go middle of the barrel. I'm going to start off with number 3.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's a safe pick. Or could be. Maybe it's not. Next, let's go with Brazil.
Brazil, yeah. Yeah, Brazil's a nice one. A lot of people love that one. I'm a fan of it. Short lap time, lots of elevation change. Yeah, I do like Canada a little bit better though. But I think the more majority would like Brazil better, so I'm gonna put Brazil 2.
Okay. Yeah, once again, I think it's a good pick. I can't disagree with that. Well, next, Spain.
Spain, I'm gonna have to put 5.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's no.
Okay.
Just never was a fan. New or old.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Let's see what you're gonna give me.
Next track, Japan.
Oof. For me, a top 3 track in the world. I mean, Japan is number 1 easily.
Damn. I was hoping you wouldn't do that.
Japan. I mean, Japan is orgasmic. I mean, you go in there and you just start. Things just start. Just you go through that S section and tell me that don't happen to you. You know what I mean?
No,
that thing is a pure beauty. Mwah!
Yeah. No, I was curious what you thought of it. I thought you were gonna go more like, I didn't know if you were gonna put it ahead of Brazil or not. So I was curious. But all right. Last is Monaco.
Monaco, okay. And to be honest, I think that's where I would place it, number 4. And I think that's a perfect ranking in my opinion.
You absolutely nailed this ranking.
Yeah.
And honestly, we have the same exact order.
Yeah. No, I mean, Monaco's a great track. It's probably the most iconic track on the whole list. But as far as like the racing and the actual track goes itself, I think the other 3 beat it out because it's just better racing on it. But yeah, I think I nailed that one.
Man, I was really hoping that like you would put Monaco at 1 because the reason like I put it ahead of Spain, even though the racing isn't great. I mean, if you wouldn't make these cars so big, the track would be phenomenal. The track is phenomenal. It's just it's too small for what the cars are nowadays. Personally, that's what I think.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with that assessment. Let's do mine then. F1 tracks.
Okay. All right. There's a high bar here. Now that you basically matched my order for the tracks, like I gotta nail this.
Yeah. First up, Silverstone.
See, I was thinking about putting that on my list, but I knew I know you like that track, so let's go number 1.
Good. One of my favorite tracks.
Me too.
Number 1. Number 2, Coda.
I love Coda. There's a personal bias here because it's my favorite track to race on the F1 games. It's always been my best track, but I don't know. I feel like the racing itself, like there's been a few moments, there's been a few finishes, like with Vettel and I think Magnussen, I think it was a couple years ago. That was phenomenal.
Even Vettel's last season, he had a good overtake on towards the last remaining laps around that triple right-hander.
Yeah, but you know, there's so many tracks out there, so I'm gonna go put it at number 4.
Okay, next up, France.
Can we count that? Is it on the schedule?
I don't think anymore, but I mean Formula 1 track.
We could still, yeah.
We didn't say current or I'm Formula 1 track, right? Anyway.
All right. Okay. 5. That's probably not a great decision because I know like you're probably gonna give like, you know, some stupid track or whatever at last, but how about it?
Next up is Hungary.
Honestly, I like the track. That might be a, you know, controversial opinion. Maybe, you know, some people disagree with that. I like it. Like I think it very much resembles a go-kart track, and you know, the racing might not be great, but I think it goes beyond the racing too. You know, you have to look beyond that. Like with Monaco, there's a lot of prestige, history. That's why I didn't put it last in my ranking. So I'll go and put Hungary at 2. What's number 3? Gosh, what am I going to put ahead of Coda?
All right. Well, it was also one of the tracks you had on your list. It is Spain, but with the chicane.
I'm glad you clarified that. I should have clarified that for mine.
So I think my order that I had.
Yeah, number 3.
Yeah, that'd go 3. So you had Silverstone, Hungary, Spain with the chicane, and 3rd. 4th was Coda, 5th was France. I had the order of Silverstone, Coda. Then I had Hungary, France, then Spain with the chicane.
Okay, so our lists are a little jumbled up, but I feel like, I don't know, Coda, I don't dislike Coda. It's just more of, I was anticipating you giving me a lot of heavyweights because last time you kind of went at the bottom of the barrel, you know? And I'm not saying you gave me necessarily bottom of the barrel tracks, but I was expecting you to go and put in like Suzuka and, you know, Brazil and Belgium. I was really anticipating a lot of those tracks, so I didn't want to put it at 2. And then you got Spa and however many tracks below it.
Yeah. But no, that was fun, first time. So yeah, if you guys like that, we'll do more down the line, different types of games as well. And you know, we could even, if you guys have suggestions or other things, you know, you can give us the questions or give us the actual things you want us to ask, and then we'll you know, we'll do it. You know, give it to one or the other, so that we can. So we both don't know it, but prior to. Yeah, I think that was fun though. I think that we had a good little return back. We talked a little bit TCR, state of the game, had some fun at the end, and I think that's a successful return to the podcast, don't you think, Eamon?
I agree. Yeah, I think we've got a lot going for us with this podcast. I think the blindly ranking and like those type of stuff, like we could reach super far with that and come up with all sorts of ideas. And if any of you that are watching, if you want to suggest some ideas in some sort of way, let us know. And if you're really interested, come on and join us and give your takes on tracks, drivers, and whatever comes to mind.
Absolutely. And hopefully we'll be back once again for another episode down the short future. But yep, we're going to be on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. So go listen to it, save it, go share it out as well, and let us know how you liked the episode. All right. I want to thank everybody once again. Make sure to follow TCR on all socials and join the TCR Discord server where we are the most active. Until next week, thank you all for listening. We have an F1 race this week as Tuesday. And what track is it, Camden?
The track is the Netherlands.
Oh, okay. So that'll be on Tuesday, 8:45 p.m. Eastern Time on our YouTube and our Twitch. So we'll see you there. So yeah, thank you all for listening.